everyone for taking the time out of your busy schedules today to join our session. I hope you find it insightful. We're so pleased and excited to have Martin Williams from Codeless Platform with us today to chat about BPA Platform. So Martin, over to you. Please tell us more.
Wonderful. Thanks, Ian. Thanks, Michelle, for the great intro and start. Let me share my screen and show you some slides. Okay, so again, as been said already, welcome everyone, and I hope you enjoyed the session. And obviously, if you have any questions, feel free to ask those questions, and then we can answer them as best we can. And of course, we can take things on offline afterwards as well. So that covers off Ian and I, which we've already done. Okay, so I'm again, quick recap. I'm Martin Williams. I'm part of the sales and accounts team here. So I'm part of a team that manages our partners and our customers. So a quick bit of history for you to start off with. So who are Codeless Platforms? So we've been around now for 20 years. We started out in 1999. The platform itself started out as an alerting engine. So when a bit of data changes within your business somewhere, we would send out alerts and messaging. That platform has now grown into a fully featured and feature-rich integration and automation platform. As a business, we now trade as Codeless Platforms. Our parent business name is Orbis Software, and the platform's gone through a few iterations, as you can understand, with these sorts of systems. It used to be called Task Center. We now call it BPA, stands for Business Process Automation. So if you do hear of those other names, Orbis Software and Task Center, rest assured it's one and the same company and one and the same platform. So we're based in the UK, down on the south coast, about 2 hours south of London, but we sell the platform globally. So from here in the UK, I manage all of our SAP business partners, and of course G3G is one of those important partners for us. I've got colleagues that look after Sage and Syspro and Epical and those other flavors of ERP as well. Okay, and I can touch on a bit more of that in a moment. And just to give you some numbers, so we are now over 8,500 end customers, and as I say, we manage all those customers via our network of key partners, and there's roughly 300 of those globally. Right, so what does Codeless Platforms offer? So as a platform, we're agnostic. So yes, I know we're here today to talk about SAP B1 integrations into and out of that ERP system. But if you need to, or you ever decide to move away to maybe to by design or a different platform as well, the BPA platform is agnostic. So it can connect into any number of systems to connect in and move and manage that data back and forth. So focusing back on SAP, so we've been a long-term partner with SAP. I think we've been an ISV since 2011. So we have a certified and approved SAP B1 connector tool that gives us the ability to connect into SAP B1 and move and manage that data back and forth as we need to. We've also got integrations into, so we can cover off SAP HANA as well. So we have applications integration. We can connect into any number of cloud solutions. And as those last two bullets there, as I've said before, so we are SAP B1 integration partner, and also we are a SAP Concur integration partner. So whatever you're looking to do across the family of SAP products, the BPA platform can assist you. And that last, sorry,
Mark, just to clarify, so you said that it's SAP certified. So just to clarify to our viewers, when it's SAP certified, it means that SAP themselves has looked at the product and they've put their stamp of approval on the connector.
Exactly. Yes, they have. Thanks for that, Ian. And then that last bullet there. So as well as providing the connectors, and I can talk about a bit more of that in a moment as well, we also provide templated task solutions. So rather than partners and customers need to build integrations from the ground up, we look to provide templated solutions as well. And we have a selection of those across e-commerce, CRM, SAP, warehouse management, courier services. So let's say, as an example, you're building an integration from Shopify into SAP B1. Rather than start from scratch, we can provide the templated solution for that solution to be then implemented within a copy of BPA. And then the partner can work through that solution to make sure it matches the scoping and requirements of the customer. So it may be that our standard solution might bring down orders and it might bring down stock and pricing, but then you might want to add returns or add something else to that integration. So these templated solutions give the partners the ability to sort of, rather than a standing start, give them a running start, and then our guys can then support the partner, who then can then support you as the customer. Okay. Right. So this next slide is one of my favorite slides, I'll be honest, because it really sets the scene for me. So the gray wheel is your business, Mr. Customer, so an end customer. and around the wheel, the different departments that business may have around their business. Inside the wheel is the BPA platform. So BPA in its current form sits on a Microsoft server, and that server can be hosted in the cloud or on premise. So lots of flexibility there. And then outside that gray wheel, there's a selection of brands and applications I'm sure you recognize, broken down into those different areas. So ERP top left, e-commerce bottom right. So what this slide is trying to portray here is whatever systems you are using as a business around your company, whether it is Concur for expenses, whether you're using Salesforce for CRM, whether you're using HubSpot for marketing or Shopify for e-commerce, the BPA platform gives you that middleware layer to manage all of those integrations and all of those automations from one central place. So it may be that you'll start with an integration from WooCommerce into SAP B1, or you'll start with a HubSpot into SAP B1 integration. But once you have the BPA platform in situ, it gives you that platform to do a whole lot of other things as well. So whether you're pulling data out of SAP B1 to send out reports and alerts, whether you are pulling data out of SAP B1 to change that data and push it back into company number 2, or whether you're moving marketing, or again, whatever these things may be, the platform gives you that ability to manage all of those things from one central place. Okay. Right, and so we talk about, as we always do in this company, about connections and connectors. This just sort of reiterates the flexibility and scope of the platform. Again, you'll see some brands on the screen. As you can appreciate, there are thousands of systems out there for us to connect into. So for us to have a bespoke connector for all of those will be a mammoth task. So we have a number of bespoke tools that are designed to connect into a specific API, as we have with the SAP B1, as we have with an array of the e-commerce platforms. We also have some general tools that allow customers and partners to connect into different systems as well. Okay, so again, this slide here just gives you another idea of the sorts of things that we tend to see that our partners and customers are connecting into. Okay, and so this slide is designed to give you an idea of how that setup might look. So starting in the middle, so with the BPA platform. So BPA sits on its own server, as I said earlier. That same server would also host a copy of Microsoft SQL, because we use that as a staging database in the middle of the integration. So that server can be hosted on-premise or in the cloud, and that server can be hosted by you, the customer, or it can be hosted by G3G for you. So again, lots of flexibility there. Then on one side, you would have the application. So let's say, as my example is Shopify. So the Shopify web store would be on one side, and then your ERP, SAP B1 would be on the other side. So BPA's job is to manage the workflows, and it's the workflows that move and manage that data back and forth. So from the example there in that e-commerce box top right, it says orders, pricing, stock and returns. So the BPA platform would have a series of workflows that's taking this data out of e-commerce. It's bringing that data into a staging environment, so it's staged in the right format, in the right way. It's then a second set of workflows would pick up that data from staging and put it up into ERP. And of course, because we're bi-directional, that would work on the flip side as well. So data coming out of ERP into staging, so it's in the right format and the right shape, and then from staging up into e-commerce. And so whether you're looking at e-commerce or payments or CRM, so whatever integration you're looking at, this modular setup with BPA managing the workflows, an application on one side and ERP on the other side, this is the general form of how the system is used. Okay, so once you understand the system, obviously as a platform, we support our partners 100%. So we give a series of training to the G3G guys and all our partners. So those partners understood how to configure the BPA platform and how to use the tools. And again, it's the tools you would use to then build out these workflows, and those workflows all sit within BPA. So a little bit more detail. So the BPA platform is designed to be used by a consultant and not by a developer. Lots of our customers will have the BPA partner do the installation and the initial setup, but thereafter, you're more than willing to, if you have the technical ability and the desire to, customers can also manage the BPA tool themselves. So it may be that you lean on G3G for maybe more of a technical setup, and you lean on G3G for the ongoing support of the BPA platform, but it may be that you want to build some things yourselves, which you're more than welcome to. And when I say build these things, this is where the BPA tooling comes into place. So the integration platform has a long list of tools, 50, 60 tools, and we group those tools together based on the job that they do. So within our eventing section, all of the eventing tools. So as an example, an eventing tool might be a scheduler. So every 5, every 10, every 15 minutes, the scheduler tool kicks off and the process starts maybe logging into Shopify or logging into Magento or logging into WooCommerce to maybe download orders. So within that eventing section, there'll be some other eventing tools there as well. So another eventing tool might be the B1 Alerts engine. So it's the engine that sits within SAP B1 and monitors data change. So let's say we're monitoring bank accounts as an example. If a bank account number changes, the B1 Alerts engine can pick up that change with a flag. BPA can then use that flag as a trigger for something to happen. So it might be someone's changed a bank account number. BPA can be triggered to send out an email or send out an alert or a message to maybe your head of finance to say, this has been changed from this to this. So again, all these small intricacies of how you manage and monitor data can be done with the BPA platform. And each of those lines, as you can read down the list, are the different sections, how we group all those similar tools together. So then what those tools give you is the ability to build out the workflow that we call a task. So what you're looking at here is a screenshot of BPA. It's our platform, and I can log in a moment and show you the live system. We're looking at a really simple, basic process using 3 of our tools. So there's a daily schedule tool, there's some sort of get data tool, and then there's some sort of formatting tool. So again, we would call that a task, but it's a workflow. But if I now change screen again, this example shows you that a workflow can be a simple 2 or 3-step process, but equally it can be a longer process. So the amount of tools you use is based on what this workflow is doing for your process at the time. So this particular one we're looking at here happens to be an upload to a courier. So it's not for you to realize what this task is actually doing at this stage. This is to give you a concept of how the system works. So again, when I log into the live screen, I'll be able to drag a tool onto the page. That's where the drag and drop functionality comes into play. You can drag a tool onto the page based on the requirements of the scope that the partner is building for the customer, and then that workflow then builds up based on what you're trying to do with your data. So again, the example here is an upload to a courier. So it happens to be doing quite a number of different things here. But equally, this could be assisted. This could be a workflow that's pulling data out of SAP V1. It's converting the format. It's maybe triggering an email and building a report. And maybe there might be 4 steps as an example. The beauty with the BPA platform is it allows you to manage all of these different types of processes from, as you're looking at this one here, maybe quite a long process, but also short, simple processes as well. But again, when I log in after my slides, I can log into BPA and show you a bit more of that as well.
And Martin, this drag and drop functionality is one of the main reasons you said that you don't necessarily need a developer to do this. As a consulting tool, or the customer themselves can do this.
Exactly. So this is why the tool's been built in this way. So BPA has built the tool and it's almost hidden all of the code at the back end, and it's designed with this drag and drop interface. So once someone knows how to use the platform and understands the tooling, they can very, very quickly start to build out these workflows, or even maybe amend existing workflows. Again, that's why we say, and that's where the branding comes from, Codeless platforms. So it's designed for a consultant and not designed for a developer. Right, so as you can appreciate, because of some of the things I've told you so far, the BPA platform can do an awful lot of things. So to make it a little bit easier, we've broken those things down into 4 different areas, which I'll touch on now. So the first of those 4 areas is data integration and synchronization. So this is where 2 different systems are passing back information. So from my example earlier, let's take Shopify. So let's say you've got a Shopify integration set up. Let's say you have some more stock arrive and you book that stock into your ERP systems, into SAP B1. You want to replicate those stock volumes down to your Shopify store or your WooCommerce store, so the customers that are buying the product can see you have stock, or you might have more stock. So this data integration and synchronization simply means that 2 systems are passing that data back and forth. So rather than your business need to log into Shopify to update information, after logging into SAP B1 to log information, and maybe going into the warehouse, these workflows within the BPA platform can do all that updating for you, okay? And again, there's some more examples on the page here. So whether you are, so let's say a customer goes onto the website and they can get into their own account information. And let's say they add, let's say they change a phone number or change an email address. We can pick up that change from a website and mirror that change across into your CRM system. So when you next log into the CRM system, you'll see the most up-to-date information that's been pulled through from the website. And again, there's more examples on the page, whether it's content management, whether they're pulling information in from courier services, whether it's looking at HR applications, or whatever those different systems may be. This section, this area, we call data integration and synchronization. Then the second area is probably the easiest of the four. It's the notifications and alerts. So this is a great way to use the platform just to keep your business updated on what might be happening. Let's say you had a large order in from a customer, and let's say that large order needs some special support, or needs another set of eyes, or needs something else happening to it. You can use triggers within the BPA platform to trigger those things around your business. Or let's say maybe you have product managers, and each morning they come into the office and they log into your systems to manage their stock levels. Maybe they always need to have at least maybe 100 items of a certain stock level in stock to make sure you've got enough stock for your customers. Maybe when that volume goes below 100, they want to get some sort of warning. So lots of companies now, they log into systems and they do it all manually. Well, you can build alerts around these things. So the BPA platform can do that monitoring for you. So when a stock level goes below 100, it can send out an email, it can send out an alert to let someone know that volume has dropped. And again, more examples on the page, internally for a business and then externally out to a customer. So delivery notifications, whether you are, so if I was a customer of an insurance business as an example, and my expiry date's coming up, it's those sorts of reminders that we can trigger an alert based on data changes within your business. Okay. And then the third area we call reporting and document automation. Again, there's lots of examples here, but there's a few on the page. So it may be that when a process happens within your business, certain documents need to be triggered and either sent to the customer, or triggered and given to a delivery driver, or triggered so you have compliance documents printed internally, whatever those things may be. So let's say, as an example, you have a certain hazardous cargo that's going to be delivered to one of your customers. That hazardous cargo has to go with a certain waste report, or has to be sent with a certain hazardous document. All of those types of things are often a manual process. You can trigger those things so they always happen. It may be that the delivery can't be made unless a certain compliance document is with the driver, or it may be certain delivery docs in a certain format have to accompany pallets when they're delivered to other customers. All of those types of things, again, you can use the BPA platform to trigger those things and print out those documents into the warehouse or into the office, or wherever they need to go. So that's the third area. And then the fourth area we call workflow and human interaction. So BPA is all about how can we save the customer time, how can we save the customer resources, thereby saving the customer money. So as Michelle spoke about at the top of this call, we immediately think of automation and you think of robots, but sometimes you will need a human being in that process in some shape or form. And again, there's some examples on the page. So it may be that one of your customers wants to return a large item to your warehouse. Well, before that large item can be accepted, maybe you want to charge a restocking fee. Maybe you want to charge them for something else. Maybe it can't be taken back in until you speak to your manufacturer. Maybe there are some reasons why a human being needs to be involved. So BPA can automate the process at the front end. BPA can push an email off or push a request off to a customer or one of your directors to get authorizations or approvals. Once that approval has been made, BPA can then pick up that process thereafter and automate the rest. Another good example might be, so let's say your sales manager is authorizing commissions as an example. The system can do the initial calculations of those commissions, but then the sales manager, he or she, needs to say yes or needs to say no. So those approvals are then taken and brought back into the process, and that process can then continue thereafter. And again, there's some more examples on the page of a similar thing. So again, we call that fourth area workflow and human interaction. So those are the four areas. That's how we break BPA down. Obviously, the way you use BPA is entirely up to you as a customer, and that'll be driven and partnered with G3G. Let's say we break into those four areas to try and make it a little bit simple, because BPA platform is what it is. It can do an awful lot of things. Okay, so a quick case study for you. It's good to sort of understand who's doing this and the sort of benefits they're getting. So Polymax is one of our customers with us a number of years. They are a a rubber manufacturer, so that they make all things rubber gadgets and feet and matting and all sorts of things. So the challenge they had was the ability to automate their order processing. They were looking to move to a Magento e-commerce integration. They were looking to implement SAP B1, but also they wanted to look at how they manage their orders out of the business as well. Hence, we have DPD and CityLink for a couple of delivery companies based here in the UK. And they wanted, as all companies do, want to improve the customer experience. Up until now, they were doing lots of manual repetition, logging into systems, checking information, manually pushing out orders, logging into courier services to manage orders and deliveries. So the solution was, the partner at the time, first thing they were going to do is install SAP B1. So that was installed and set up correctly. They then moved to Magento, so Magento being their e-commerce website. And then they used BPA to automate those two things together. And then they built the automations out to those DPD and CityLink systems as well. So what that allows the system to do now, and more importantly, how the customer enjoys the process. So I'm the customer, I log onto the website, I might purchase some rubber feet for one of my products in the office. That order is processed through Magento. BPA picks up that order and pushes that order and the information through to SAP B1. At that point, maybe someone in the business needs to approve the order, or maybe they want to allocate some stock or check pricing, whatever that may be. So once that order is then approved, BPA then processes that order, and first you might put the response of the order status back out to Magento so the customer knows what's happening. But also thereafter, we then can push out the order based on the size of the order, or maybe how it's packed and delivered, or maybe the weight of the order. We then push that out to the relevant delivery company as well. So because they're using the two, they might be using DPD maybe for small parcels, and maybe using CityLink for larger parcels. So based on the size of those parcels, you can use BPA to push that information out to the relevant courier service as well. And then looking at the results, these guys have some great savings. So saving 5 hours a day. I think I've looked at this before, and if you're saving at least 2 hours a day using the BPA platform, it very, very quickly pays for itself. So the economies of scale is there and the ROI is there. This allowed them to automate 12 of their processes, and it touched all parts of their business. So the customer is getting a greater service. The business is able to process those orders in a much quicker fashion. Thereby, the whole process works nice and smoothly, and everyone finishes the day with a smile on their face because everything's happened as it should do. But coming back to the saving there, for a business to save themselves 5 hours a day, and therefore 1,300 hours a month, there's a great saving there, and there's a great way to redeploy those staff doing other things across the business. And you can see a quick quote there from the MD down the left-hand side. Okay, so then just covering off what automation can do for my company. So from a business perspective, there's a number of things there. So it can allow you to ensure you're compliant and you're doing the things you should be doing, whether you're printing out documents or you're adhering to certain things. It allows you to reduce some of those admin duties. It allows you to improve your cash flow. So that's a good one. So let's say, as an example, you're sending out invoices to your customers, but let's say your invoice doesn't include the customer's PO number. That customer could wait till day 29 of a 30-day period and then come to you and say, well, you've not got my PO number, so I need that and I can't pay until you have. You guys then put the PO number on manually. That then goes back out to the customer. The customer then gets another 30 days payment. So that payment of £1,000, let's say, or $1,000, doesn't come into your business for 60 days as opposed to 30 days. You don't need many of those to then start to have a bit of a hit on your cash flow. So these processes to make sure that invoices are going out to customers correct with the right information, documents are sent as they should do, all of these little things around your business can start to have quite large effects on cash flow and you managing the business in the right way, so it benefits you and of course always benefits the customer. And there are some more examples you can read down the page on that business side. And of course, from the customer side, it's that improved communication. It's the ability for you to order something online and the process run nice and smoothly. It's the way that when I log on to your website to look at stock, I can always see the stock you have in store. Nothing more annoying than you place an order with someone And once you place the order, you then receive an invoice to say, sorry, an email to say, oh, thank you for the order. We've got no stock in. You'll need to wait till we have our next delivery in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Often then you'll see customers jump back and they want to cancel orders and change orders. Making sure the information in your business is accurate all the time, but more importantly, it's accurate across all your different systems, will give you improved processes and smoother flow of that information back and forth. Obviously reduce lead time. So like I said then, so if I'm ordering something on the website as a customer and you do have stock, I know that I'm going to get my order within a day or two. Equally, by processing that order through your business, make sure that it's going to be delivered out to me in the shortest space of time. I'm a happy person. I give you more stars when you ask me to rate your business and do a survey. Those 5 stars might mean that more customers come onto your website and more customers buy product, and the whole thing manages itself. And of course, that last one on the customer side, it's reducing human errors or reducing errors in order processing. Every time a human pair of hands touches something, there's the chance, there's the risk that things can be implemented incorrectly or keyed in wrong, or there can be some delays. By doing this with an automated process means these things are happening in the shortest and the most efficient way. Okay. And then just to cover off ROI, so return on investment. A system like ours can be measured in many different ways. So we try to put some examples on the page here. So the opportunity cost. So it's automation, using automation to free up time of your staff to do other things around your business. Again, Michelle spoke about their bots coming into the world and bots taking over jobs. We've always seen it as bots coming in, which again, Michelle touched on, bots coming in to take away the mundane processes and allows your staff to have that step above those mundane processes and become managers of your business. So it may be that you'll have a manager managing a number of bots or managing a number of processes. So it elevates your staff to enjoy their job more, maybe earn some more money. It allows your business to automate those mundane tasks, as my previous slide, reduce those risks of human error as well. So that's the opportunity cost. I've mentioned audit trail, so things like making sure you're compliant, making sure that the information is sent out when it should be sent out, in the way it should be sent out. So the whole GDPR thing, we've heard across the press for a number of years now. Your business might need to do things in a certain way. It might need to adhere to certain ways of contacting customers. By automating these processes, make sure those audit trails are there and those compliance requirements are in place. The third one, security. So automating in place of a manual process to eradicate sensitive data being exposed. It may be that some of the data in your business, you don't want to get your general staff to have eyes on that. It may be that you manage certain customers that might be military customers or might have sensitive information. So by automating these processes, by having the systems pull information out, push information in, it's less eyes on this sensitive information. Then the last 3, so the impact, something is not done. So like I said to you earlier, you send out an invoice to a customer, you don't include their PO number, they then pay you in 60 days rather than 30 days. Those impacts on your business can very quickly have a larger effect down the line. So it's making sure those things are done when they should be done. And the last 2, so standardizing a process, it's making sure that things happen in a certain way. So in our business here, we have a licensing desk. BPA makes sure that the licensing desk is sending out things as it should be. It's sending out things in the right way. We're sending out the right information with regards to logging into systems and usernames and passwords, but also it's making sure that we're sending out the right expiry information on a license, but also sending out the right reminders when those expiries come into play as well. So standardizing on how you manage something in your business will give you great benefit. Necessarily, you won't think of those things because Julie comes into accounts and always logs into a certain system and manages those things for us. Or Frank comes into the delivery department and he manages all of our processes with regards to picking and packing stock. It's when you start to automate these processes, you will start to see benefits and gains in resources and gains in time, because the system is going to work as quick as the system will work, as opposed to human might stop for a coffee, might be busy doing other things. Usual sort of thing. And the last one I touched on earlier, so the reputation. This one thing you don't always think about. So let's say you sell on Amazon or you sell on a platform that can give you ratings. If you give a poor customer service to those customers, they're going to give you a low score. when the next customer logs on and sees your low score, they might think, well, maybe I won't buy from them. I'll maybe go to the company around the corner that sells the same product. So giving a good service to your customer improves your reputation. Your reputation is improved, gives you a higher score on eBay or Amazon or other platforms you might be using. Those ratings are read by lots and lots of customers. So when they come on to buy whatever they're going to buy from your business, it gives them the reassurance that you're a reputable company, you're a good guy to buy from, they're going to buy the stock. And again, the whole thing starts to manage and move forward and promote things just by you doing a good job. Customer service, I think, is still quite underplayed. A platform like ours can make sure that customer service is always where it needs to be. So I think I've rattled on enough now. I think that's my last slide. Okay, so there we go. We're on to Q&A. So I hand back to you, Ian.
Yeah, so thank you for that, Martin. So a couple of key takeaways that I got out of the session at the moment is that when you get this BPA platform solution, you're not limited to just one software that you can integrate and work with. The possibilities are endless. And then second, in my notes, I also looked at the question about why should I automate. So what stood out for me is that by automating, I'm going to, number one, have happy employees, because you eliminate those tedious tasks, like you mentioned, and you can engage the employees in a more creative way in the organization and in a more strategic way. Then also you enhance your efficiency at the end of the day because you've got quicker turnarounds. Because I mean, some organizations have the employees 9 to 5, but after hours, who looks after it? So it stands over until the next day. So if you automate, it's a continuous thing there. Quick turnaround. You like you mentioned, you minimize the errors when it comes to data capturing. You improve your scalability as well, because now where one individual can only handle 100 orders, by automating now you don't have a limit on how many orders can be handled at once.
Yes.
So that's also you improve the scalability, and then you reduce your cost at the end of the day. And not just cost in the sense of monetary cost, but also, like you mentioned, reputation, opportunity cost. So those are the things that stood out to me from the session. So thank you so much for that. I don't see any questions. If we've got any questions to how long does a rollout of BPA platform normally take?
Okay, so good question. So as with a system like ours, it very much depends on what you're implementing. But if we take one of our standard templates, let's say a Shopify template as an example, our guys would normally quote, let's say, around 5 days to set up something that's pre-built. Obviously, there's time involved to install the software. There's time involved to connect into SAP B1, and let's say we're connecting into Shopify. You can install the template, but obviously that template is based on a standard build. Every customer's data is different, so the G3G team would then work through that template to make sure it matches the customer's requirements. The customer is always going to have some changes. The customer might be storing information within SAP B1 a little bit different to the way the template is set up. So those changes will need to be made. There's obviously there's the testing thereafter, and then handing that solution over. So a standard template might take 5 days, but of course, a technical implementation that involves custom pricing, lots of parent and child products with different sizes and different colors, those things could take maybe between 10 and 15 days. So it really does depend on what you're implementing for the customer.
Great, Josh. So it's all dependent on processes and what needs to be done at the end of the day. And then you mentioned you do have some pre-configured automated processes as well that are ready to use. Yes.
Yeah, so we have a number of those templates, and as a business, we're going to be doing more things like that, because we want to make sure the partners has as much information as they need. So we've got a number of integrations built for Salesforce and HubSpot and Shopify and WooCommerce and Magento. So there's a number of those off the shelf that you guys can use for the customer. And as time goes on, we'll start to build more and more of those. Just to touch on there, so we obviously still also have one for SAP by Design. For SAP Concur. So SAP Concur themselves, the same way that SAP B1 have certified our connector, the SAP Concur team has also certified our SAP Concur integration. So the way we pull data out of Concur and bring it into staging, that process has also been certified by SAP Concur themselves. So that's another great template that we offer.
Fantastic. And then I think a final question from my side, but I think it might also be a question that's on everyone's lips, is how is BPA priced?
Okay, so the pricing is based on an annual subscription license. The initial bundle of software that we sell would give a customer everything they need for their initial integration. So it would include the SAP B1 connector, it would include the connector on the other end of the integration, and it would include a license about 25 of those workflow. We include 25 because that's what we've seen from our experience, that an e-commerce integration is often one of the larger integrations that a customer requires. They tend to need between 20 and 25 tasks. So we include 25 as that bundle. That price of 350 a month, so 4,200 per year, gives the customer that initial bundle of software, everything they need. But of course, because of the way the platform's designed, you can then add on more connections or add on more tasks as and when required. And I'm sure your team could pass on the actual pricing if a customer requires.
Yeah, we'll do that. Thank you so much, Martin. Yeah. While we wait for additional questions, let's go into a quick show and tell that you have for us.
This is me now logged into BPA. So this is the administrational screen and screens for using and managing the BPA platform. So just a quick run through for you. Down the left-hand side, you'll see some shortcuts. This is just user preference, so I can drop those away. On one of my slides, I showed you all of the tooling and the sort of departments that we manage those tools within. So down this next section on the left-hand side, you'll see event down to general. So if I click into event, these are our eventing tools. So you'll see there's the SAP B1 trigger, and also that is our trigger tool that connects into that SAP B1 alerts engine built within SAP B1. So when there's a data change, it produces a flag. We then use that flag as a trigger for something to start within BPA. And then you see some other trigger tools there as well. And if I click onto input, again, some of our input tools, and there's data connectors. If I scroll down here, so you'll see there'll be two for SAP B1. So we can connect into the DI API or we can connect into the service layer as well. Just to cover those off quickly. So our SAP B1 toolkit provides everything you need for connecting into your version and your type, let's call it, of SAP B1. So whether you're connecting into an SQL database or you're connecting into a HANA database, or maybe you have an old version of SAP, all of those things are covered within this toolkit of SAP B1 connections, okay? And there are some format tools and some output tools and some execute tools. So like I said earlier, what all those tools then provide, if I push that one up and drop that one down, is the ability to build out the workflow. So if I scroll that across a little bit, so as you can see, if I click into SAP and I go into sales orders, so each of these lines becomes a workflow that's doing something within an automated process. So let's jump into one of those, number 3. So you'll see a design page open now. So this is where I can resize that. So this is where the consultant would drag and drop those tools onto the page and then build out those workflows. So again, with one of our templates, these processes have been pre-built. The consultant would then work through these processes to make sure that our standard process meets the requirements of the customer. And of course, things can be changed as they need to. So just to give you an understanding of how that might look and feel, let's say I'm the consultant here, I could drag the workflow job trigger from the right-hand side. I can drag that tool onto the page. If I so wish now, I could now configure this tool based on what I'm trying to achieve within this workflow for the customer. And I can then connect that tool into the flow behind. So it may be that this flow's got to go in at the end of the process because you want to trigger something else once this process is started. Or it may be you want this process to trigger halfway through this. So the output of one flow is affecting the input maybe of a second flow. So whatever those things may be, I can configure that tool. I can then connect that tool into the page behind. So again, this is where the drag and drop functionality comes into play. So if you were a developer building a point-to-point integration, you'd be doing all of this by code. And obviously then that code is designed based on the person that's built it. The beauty with this is it's a familiar piece of software. Maybe a business has 2 or 3 consultants. All those consultants know the software, so they're all building things in the same way. So if something needs changing down the line and one of those guys is on holiday, or one of the girls is off sick, it's familiar software that everyone knows how to use. So that familiarity of the software is why we sell it so far across all of our partners and customers. It's an easy system to use and an easy system to manage. And then very quickly, if I can just jump into one of these. So this connector here is the SAP connector. So I'll just open this one up for you. It should open, there we go. And just very quickly, so here you'll see object on the top left. If I click the arrow down, because you're all SAP B1 customers, I'm sure you recognize all the 4-digit codes. So these are all the data points coming out of SAP B1. Okay, so whatever data you need to move into or move out of SAP B1, and also we can manage custom fields here as well. You can connect into that data field to move it and manage it properly. So down the left-hand side, you'll have the object, and on the right-hand side, you'll have the relevant operation. I won't change this because this has been preset, and I'll probably break it. So this one has been preset to sales order. So then below sales order, this then becomes a very simple mapping exercise. So I click on the crosses on both sides. You'll see how that data is mapped from one system into the next system. And again, because it's an easy system to use, let's say as an example, you want to bring in the ERP order ID from one side, and let's say drop it into address to field on the other system. I can click, I can drag, I can drop. You'll see a new arrow appear, so a new mapping of one side to the next. If I so required, I could now save this process. I could save that change. I could rerun this process, and that new data mapping would be picked up and moved across accordingly. So again, the system is simple to use. It's designed in this way that it takes away all the complexities that you tend to get with integrations by having this drag and drop and this simple setup to use.
Okay, and like you mentioned, when it comes to coding, each developer has his own different unique way of writing lines of code. So if you now have to go and decode or try and figure out what the guy did, that's where the ease of use comes in then with BPA Platform, because you don't have to do that.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So fundamentally, so that's how the system works. So this particular one happens to be taking data out of staging and putting it up into SAP B1. But so whether you're moving information from staging out or staging in, or whatever systems you're using, this same concept of having a workflow of tools, and it's the workflow that's managing the data based on the customer's requirements. It may be that one customer wants to download orders in the morning, but every large order over $1,000, they want to send an alert out to someone in the business. All of those types of things that might be a manual process now can very easily and very quickly become an automated process to remove those lags and remove those heavy resource things within your business.
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
Correct.
So that's what I wanted to show you.
Yeah, so thank you so much. Much appreciated. Thank you for joining the session. And then we'll see you again in our next one.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Have a great day.